Hello children, in the previous session you have learned about changes and reactions. Under these headings you have learned reversible and irreversible changes, physical and chemical changes. Today let us learn about conditions necessary for chemical changes. For some of the chemical changes, conditions are needed. Let us see one by one. The first one is temperature. Here the match box is there. When I strike the matchstick with the chemical on the rough surface, one side of the match box catches fire. How it is possible? This is also a chemical reaction. How it is possible? In the matchstick, the chemical is there. This is called as red phosphorus, and here in the rough surface, here is also red phosphorus. When I strike, due to friction between these two, heat is generated. That heat made this matchstick to burn. In the same way, several chemical reactions, they need heat. Some chemical reactions, they require heat to start the reaction. Here is a triangle. It tells you about the heat, fuel and oxygen. Fuel to burn, these three components are needed. Fuel is necessary and heat is also required and oxygen also needed. To start the chemical reaction, heat is very essential. Here the firewood is burning. Start the firewood to burn, the heat will be provided with the help of matchstick or something. Heat will be provided. That heat is needed for the firewood to burn. So for all the fuels, these heat and oxygen both are needed. If any one is missing, if the other two are there, it is no use, reaction will not happen. So burning of fuels is also a chemical change or chemical reaction. Let us see about the second one. Presence of light. Every day we are having the food. How do we get the food from? Or where do we get the food from? We get the food from the plants. How do plants prepare their food? Plants prepare their food with the help of sunlight. And for this reaction, light is needed. So this reaction is called photosynthesis. So what are the raw materials needed for the plants to manufacture food? Water and the carbon dioxide. Water is taken by the roots of the plant and carbon dioxide is absorbed by the leaves of the plants. And the sunlight is absorbed by the leaves of the plants. So leaves of the plants, they absorb the sunlight and they make use of these two and they combine both and produce the sugar, this is the food, this is the product, and oxygen. It is also a product. Both also be produced during this process. So here the equation, the raw materials are water plus carbon dioxide in the presence of light, that is the sunlight. And products are produced, food and oxygen. For some of the chemical reactions, the light is very essential and is the best example for this chemical reaction. The next one, presence of a catalyst. So what is the catalyst? For some chemical reaction, there are some chemicals are needed, and these chemicals, they do not take part in the chemical reaction, but they help to increase or decrease the rate of reaction. So let us observe this picture. This picture shows that preparation of oxygen from potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is a compound or it is a chemical. So when we heat this potassium chloride, oxygen is produced. This oxygen is collected in the glass jar. Potassium chloride divides into potassium chloride and oxygen. This reaction needs lot of heat. It can be avoided by taking the special substance called manganese dioxide. Manganese dioxide, it acts as a catalyst. It increases the rate of chemical reaction and it helps to produce the oxygen fastly or vigorously. So here, preparation of oxygen from potassium chloride, we use manganese dioxide as a catalyst. So during this reaction, manganese dioxide acts as a catalyst. So it will increase the rate of reaction. The next one, electricity. You know that water is a compound. So when we heat the water, what do we get? We get only water vapor. Water vapor is the gaseous form of water. But we will not be knowing what are the components of water made of. So it can be observed with the help of this experiment. This is what is called electrolysis of water. This is called water voltmeter. So with the help of water, with the help of electricity, we can carry out this reaction. So when we pass the electric current through the water, acid-related water, it decomposes or splits into its components such as hydrogen and oxygen. Here you can see the water is taken in this reaction, and this is the graphite rod. When you pass the electric current, water splits into or water decomposes into oxygen and as well as hydrogen. Hydrogen the larger amount and oxygen the smaller amount. So it is 2:1 ratio. That is why we write the formula of water in the form of H2O. It is the molecular formula of H2O. The next one, changes due to interaction of two substances. So what it means? So when you chew the food, it is a physical change, and the starch, it reacts with salivary juice. So when salivary juice come in contact with the starch, it splits into glucose. This is what is called interaction. For some chemical reactions happens when two substances interact with each other. Even physical changes also happens when two substances interact with each other. Here this is the common salt or sodium chloride. I have taken the sodium chloride in this beaker. When I add water, this is the water. When I add water to the sodium chloride or the common salt, what will happen? Salt disappears. It means salt dissolves. Salt, when it comes in contact with, when salt comes in contact with water, it starts dissolving. And such substances are called as solutes or soluble substances. The substances which dissolve in water, they are called soluble substances, and the substances which do not dissolve in water, they are called as insoluble in water. So when two substances come in contact with each other, physical change also be taken place. When sugar comes in contact with water, it dissolves. As you observe the salt, in the same way, when the sugar comes in contact with water, it dissolves and it forms solution. When salt dissolves in water, it forms salt solution. When sugar dissolves in water, it is called a sugar solution. In the same way, when glucose dissolves in water, glucose solution will be produced. So see here, the sugar is here and the water. When you stir it, sugar dissolves and you will get the another new substance or what you call another change, that is the sugar solution. And this change is called as physical change, because when we evaporate water, you will get back the sugar. You can see here, sugar is called a solute and water is a solvent, and finally we get the mixture called as sugar solution. What is a solute? Solute is a substance which dissolves in water or which is smaller quantity in a solution, that is called as solute. And water is a solvent. What is meant by solvent? Solvent is a substance that is in larger quantity. You can see in this beaker, water is in larger quantity. So water is the solvent. So solvent is nothing but the substance which is in larger quantity, which make the solute to dissolve in it. Such substances are called solvents. And when we mix both, we will get the substance or the mixture that is called as sugar solution. So solutes are nothing but they are substances which are in small quantity that dissolves in water. And what is a solvent? Solvent is a substance or a liquid which is in larger quantity and which makes the solid to dissolve in it. And what is a solution? Solution is nothing but mixture of solute and solvent. So the ability of a substance to dissolve in water is called solubility. So this is the property of soluble substances. And this solubility of certain solutions increases on heating. We can increase the solubility of some substances such as sugar. To make jamun, what we do? We dissolve sugar in water, but we need the thick syrup. For that we have to boil it. When we heat it, it will become excess sugar dissolves in the water, it will become sugar syrup. So the solubility of certain solutions such as sugar solutions increases on heating. You have observed this one. Only some substances or some solids dissolve in water. What is the reason for this one? In some solids such as sugar, salt, glucose and some other chemical substances such as copper sulfate, in these solids the individual molecules are held together by relatively weak intermolecular forces. When these solids dissolve in water, the weak bonds between the molecules are broken and these molecules are released into solution. Here you can see the water is here and this is the sugar particle, individual sugar molecule. C12H22O11 is the molecular formula of sugar. The sugar is here. When it splits, it mixes with the water. So because of this reason, only some substances they dissolve in water, not all the substances. Soil, the sand and other substances, they do not dissolve because the intermolecular forces of those solids, they are very strong. They will not break, they will not mix with the water. Only solutes are some of the solid substances that dissolve in water because of this reason. And here the water has the ability to dissolve a large number of substances in it. So the water is called universal solvent. So in this chapter, you have learned these points. The first point is changes in nature. It is the nature's law or nature's rule. Lot of changes take place in the nature. Then you have studied about reversible and irreversible changes. Some of the changes can be reversed easily. For example, melting of ice. And from this water, you can get back the ice when you keep it in the freezer. Irreversible changes means some changes cannot be reversed. That is burning of fuel or breaking of glass. In these two cases, changes cannot be reversed. Physical and chemical changes. In another way, we can classify the changes into physical and chemical changes. In the physical change, no new substance is formed. Only its physical properties are changed. But in some chemical, some changes, new substances are formed and they are called as chemical changes, such as burning of fuels. The next one is condition required for chemical changes. Which are the conditions required? The temperature is needed. In some chemical reactions, light is also needed. In some chemical reactions, catalysts are needed. In some chemical reactions, electricities are needed. Changes due to interaction. When two substances come contact, changes will happen. So it may be dissolving of salt in water or rusting of iron. When we keep the iron in for some time, it reacts with oxygen in the moist air and produce a new substance called rust. So this is due to interaction between the two substances. So this is about this chapter. I think you have learned, you have understood about this one. Thank you, children. We will meet you in the next class.